Hey guys, here we go again with Barrister and Mann. This time it's the Excelsior base instead of glissant. We have the Gillette Platinum blade, and it is a fresh one. I think my current Platinum is at about 20 uses, doing fine, but for evaluative purposes, in this fine Accoutrements, world's finest razor, I wanted a fresh one. And with this Badger brush, we have some nice, soft tips, but it's got a bit of backbone along with the density. It is a Stirling brush. The knot is Stirling Finest, and it is the one that's about $35 on their website. They came up with a new one that has some kind of new 3-letter acronym as well, and it's more on the $50 range. And so this is the lesser one. I got it at a great deal because it was a factory seconds or something like that. Put a CravingShaving handle in it, and I am really happy with it so far, as long as hopefully in the future it relaxes a bit and opens up a bit more. I've had that in water, as you can see from some of the kind of clumping tips, and I'm going to put it back in the water until I need it. All right. So the diamond is super hard to tell. The labeling is exactly the same as far as I could see with the glissant version, and I'm cool with that. The ingredients are different. With the glissant version, I believe beer is one of the first 4 or 5 ingredients, and so that's one way, but it's got this little symbol right here, and I believe that means it's the Excelsior version. It's kind of a cursive E, a really super fancy cursive E. And the ingredients are a little different. So I haven't used it too much. I definitely had to buy it when it came on sale because diamond is just one of my favorite scents in all of wet shaving. It's just so fun, and it just kind of feels good as you're using it. It's mild enough to where it doesn't annoy. It's got a little bit of gourmand, a little bit of grassy soil. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on at once, and to me it all works really well together. Obviously it's meant to remind you of your days at the ballpark, and I've gone to baseball games and really enjoyed it, but it wasn't something that we did a lot as a kid. Maybe 4 times, you know, during my childhood. So this one's not anchored in memories. It's just anchored in my enjoyment of the scent primarily. So let's get this blade out of the packaging. And this is one of those where they do use those wax dots to keep the blade centered. I believe they probably use it to, as you can see, it keeps the blade edge away from the folds in the paper, because if during shipping, if the blade was rubbing up against paper, then that might definitely affect it. Dull the edge just a hair. The finest razor I'm really enjoying quite a bit. The handle is my only there are 2 faults I have with it. The handle's a little bit plain, but I tell you what, it's highly functional. It works really well. The balance, the width, the grip, all of those things work really well. It just doesn't look all that great. The other thing I have with it, it's probably priced just a little bit high for what you get, perhaps. That's obviously a very subjective thing. Alignment has always been perfect. I've never had to alter the alignment. It locks it in really nicely. Let's splash my face with some water. Now, I did have a chance to look at the soap water ratios that I've done in the past with Excelsior, and I've always scooped it, probably because of the fact that I was using some samples. And so I believe, but the scooping amount of 1/4 teaspoon seemed to be, and the amount of water used seemed to be pretty on par with other soaps. And so as I shake the water out of the brush here, a lot of it, I'm going to then start working. And I think I'm going to do a 40-second load here. If in the middle of the load I might pause, if it looks too pasty, because then I'll probably add just a few drops of water, and that will often make a big difference. Okay, so we'll start at the next 10 graduation on the timer. So that would mean I'm going to 50 seconds. This brush has a good bit of backbone. At this point, sometimes it feels easy to splay, sometimes it doesn't. It's not pasty, it's still staying kind of wet, so that means I don't think I'm going to have to add 10 more seconds now. I'm not going to have to add any water to it. Easiness of loading, I believe, is one of the things that Will wanted to accomplish with the Excelsior. You hear that crackling right there? That's my elbow. I broke that years and years and years ago. All the bones that connected to the elbow broken. All right. I have definitely enjoyed the performance of Excelsior. Tried it in some different samples like Nordost, Fougere, Angelique. And to be honest, I may have not actually used this Excelsior version of Diamond before, but I think I have. I should have remembered that this brush likes a little bit more soaking before the shave, but I didn't quite plan ahead that far. It's funny, see, my computer records indicated that I have always just scooped the Excelsior. But this tub has definitely been brush loaded. So that's really funny. I wonder if something's up. And I'm pretty sure I bought it new because it's I rarely buy soaps new. I like to buy them used and save money. So as you can see, it is pretty rich looking. And we've got 2 teaspoons in it already. Let's go for 3. Looking pretty good. It's on its way. A little bit of tar, a little bit of pine tar like the handles of the bats. A little dirt, soil, grass. Caramel. Man, who would have thought dirt, soil, grass, pine tar, and caramel would work so well together. And there's some other things too. So let's feel of it so we don't take it too far. Slickness is really nice. I'm not feeling a ton of kind of a solidity, cushion, you know, resistance to being pressed that sort of thing. And so this one may be right about where he needs to be. So let's just maybe mix for another 30 seconds. Just to get a good consistent mix. And then sometimes, you know what happens? When I try to get that consistency, I discover that it has firmed up some. Because maybe there was more soap in the brush that hadn't yet come out. That sort of thing. And so then that gives you the opportunity to fix it, add a little bit more water perhaps. In the case of some brushes that really hold a lot of water, the reverse may happen where you know, hey, I need to maybe add a little bit of soap to it or something like that. All right, there we go. Now let's see what kind of behavior it gets as we kind of pull it up and out. Not long peaks. Pretty firm wall there. Look at that, not moving. Of course, that was kind of a wide. Let's see if we can get it. Ah, there we go. See, this is a more kind of narrow tower. If I hold it just right, he stays still. If I tilt him over, he starts to collapse. So you know what? That was a slow collapse. And so what I think I might do is, actually no, this still feels kind of loose in my hands. And so I'm going to listen to my hands more than the look of the peaks with this soap base, because after all, a lot of those milestones that I've given you guys before will vary per soap. All right, I'm going to get my face all wet again, and then we will keep on going with a little bit of lather on it. As often happens with dense brushes, you can empty out that center, but you've got plenty on the sides. So just switch to painting like that. We'll do a little bit of roll so that then you could kind of push the side into it. Use some of those types of techniques to rotate your lather through the brush. Really nice soft tips here, but still a good bit of density with the brush. But it's still got more uses. You know, it's still pretty newish, so it's still got a little bit of time to kind of relax and change as more of the bristles leave the center area. With the brushes that aren't quite so dense, you don't have to do this type of kind of lather manipulation quite as much, because the lather is more able to move freely through the brush. Like I was saying, the tips are soft, but you know, the density's there and you get a little bit of backbone just because of the density, even if you have a nice soft shaft to the bristles. As to my consistency here, I believe I might have hit it just right. It's still very creamy. I don't think I'd want to get it too much wetter than this. It could probably handle it okay, but this might be right around my sweet spot. All right, let's see. Gillette Platinum, often a very good blade for me in most razors. 24 hours of growth is what we're shaving today. A little bit of not tugging, but just you feel the, you know, hairs being cut, but it's very comfortable. It's not quite as nice as the Nasset was yesterday. And on different parts of the face, it's different levels of comfort. Like my right cheek, it was very nice, and my left one, it wasn't quite as sublime. I could probably go a little wetter. You could kind of see some of the remnants of the lather on my face. So we'll call this on the dry side of perfect. Still in that really nice zone where I'm really happy if it lands anywhere in there. But I could still add just a touch water if I wanted to. As a matter of fact, we could just take like half a teaspoon of water, add it to the lather that's in the bowl here. Now sometimes you'll notice, you'll see that the lather changes from the first pass that you put on to the second, even if you don't add water. And so that's why I only did a half a teaspoon. I often find that even if you don't do anything, the second pass is not quite as dry as the first. And let's rinse. And second pass. With me, I don't often clean my face before the shave, so that first pass kind of acts in that capacity. Yeah, this is a nicer lather. Might not feel as luxurious, but it's slicker, wetter. So you can pick which way you like it. Very comfortable. So I'd say this is a good match for this razor, the Platinum. I'm finding that a lot of the good blades that I do enjoy work well with this razor. Then we've got some goatee lather that we can use in the trouble spot to hopefully get a nice polished cut there. And rinse. And most of my rinses during the middle of the shave are not full rinses at all. Today's have been kind of 3/4. So I'm about to put on the third pass. I'm confident this will take care of that. And looks like 40 seconds. You know, almost about right for this. That might be a little bit more than I like to have at the end of the shave, but it's pretty close. I like to have a pass or two at the end. Just for margin. There we go. 3 and 3.5 teaspoons of water for 40 seconds of loading. And this is very smooth and comfortable here. I like the way this razor behaves after the first pass. First pass is usually very nice, but then the ones after that are even better. And then for my tricky spot, I'm going to shift and reverse directions for this cross grain pass right there. And that is often something that tells me a lot about the razor and blade. That was pretty comfortable. And let's hit it one last time. Very gently, very lightly, so we don't stir up any irritation. You can definitely overshave in areas where you're trying to figure out the right way to come at it, problem areas that you might have. And let's rinse. All right, face feels really good after the shave. So we're going to use a balm I'm wanting to use up. Just got a little bit left in it. The scent is lingering on my face a little bit, but it's definitely not going to clash with anything. I bought the Diamond Aftershave Splash, I don't know, a year ago. Maybe it was on sale. I know it was on sale at Maggard Razors for a while. But all I got, all the caramel and the dirt and soil and things like that, I didn't get those from the Splash. And so what I got were the bad parts. It kind of smelled like an ashtray. And obviously scent translates in different ways with different mediums. And that's just unfortunately what happened with that. So I don't really care for my favorite soap has an aftershave that I definitely don't enjoy. It just works that way sometimes. I've got a good bit of product on my face, even though I don't think I squeezed out too much. That's all right. In a few minutes, it'll be all absorbed as I clean up. And here's how this good looking brush looks after a good towel stropping. Very dense, big old bloom. 26 millimeter, I believe, is the knot base. Smells good. So the Excelsior worked great. To me, I like the Excelsior, but I kind of like the Glissant maybe a little better. But they're both just tremendous. The Excelsior probably, and as it should be, is a little nicer to your skin afterwards, but I never had a problem at all with the Glissant. Just the way, see, look, the stuff's almost all the way absorbed. Yeah, so I like them both, and I'm glad to have Excelsior in my den, but I still love and probably prefer the Glissant just a little bit more. I think it's just maybe a little bit slicker, and I don't really need the moisturizing butters and things like that that the Excelsior brings to the table. Well, there we go. That was a good shave. I enjoyed it. The soap was very, very nice. Love the scent. It's not obtrusive. I load lightly relative to some of the face loaders out there who can use maybe 1.5 grams of product per shave. I often use just 0.5 gram of product. And so their scent, of course, is going to be maybe, 3 times as strong. But I enjoyed it. The brush did pretty well for this one. It's got a lot of backbone, and so it does take a little bit of work to splay. It's not an easy splay, but we'll keep working on it and see what happens. The razor and blade were a nice match. Not quite as good as the Nasset, but that was just way out there. And so this one probably just as good as the rest of the blades, a lot of the rest of the blades that I've used, which was really nice. It's a good match for this Platinum. And the Platinum's probably it might smooth out after a few shaves anyway, because this was the first one. Often with the manufacturing process, there's perhaps a little burr on the edge of the blade. And 1 or 2 shaves gets rid of that. And so I often find that 3, 4, or 5 shaves into a blade, you will discover a much smoother, yet still just as sharp blade as you started with. Anyway, that's what I've found. So there we go. I hope that this video is going to bring something to you to help you out. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Have a good day.